Hey there. Just a couple of words about epistemology. So I'm going to read a couple of paragraphs off of this website that I am now posting this video to. And the topic regards epistemology. So epistemology is the theory of knowledge. Basically, how we retrieve that knowledge, how we know what we know, and how do we know that it's true. And this is something that is taught in college when you pay for school. However, it wasn't taught when we were in grade school. And it's very important that it's taught in grade school for many reasons, but especially right now because of what is going on with all this fake news. And then there are plenty of us who know about fake news, especially because we're older and we've seen the difference in the news. Like, it evolved in a very bad way, but we see that. Even a lot of younger people see that, because a lot of the younger people today are more spiritual than many people were back in the day. And there's a reason for that, which I discuss on other videos and other places in my online community. This is a part. I have some Facebook pages and groups that are a part of my websites and my YouTube, which I call my community, which I started in 2007, called Sowing Social Worlds. I started that website when I was in grad school. I was studying for a doctorate in advanced studies in human behavior, and then it was basically about social and individual justice, hence the Sowing Social Worlds. And I also have a degree in criminal justice, so with my degrees, and I also have a degree in education, so putting all those together, it's kind of made sense for me to have a website and a community where I can share a lot of my thoughts and other people's thoughts. Unfortunately, that site was down. All of my sites were down in 2018 and 19, and I just started last year very slowly and still adding content to it, because a lot of my content is in a computer that needs to be fixed. So I don't have that content. I do have some still in this laptop, but not enough to fill up the site like I used to have it, or any of the sites for that matter. And I had millions of visitors. I always kept track of that on my websites. And then I lost that, so I'm trying to rebuild that. The community, I don't have as many websites. I used to have about 13 websites, and each one had a blog, and some of them had forums, and so forth. So I had 30 some odd altogether, and it was really kind of hard to deal with. I even had a little news website. It was called virtualwebunities.com, because back in the day, people were starting to make the internet, like being online, their second home. So I wanted to be the news outlet for them, but I didn't really pay too much attention to that, because like today, I'm writing articles and I'm trying to rebuild this. I'm a DJ and have been for most of my life. I'm a researcher, a writer. There's just a lot of things that I do. And then I do deliveries for a few hours per day. Anyway, it's really important that people know how to do their own research. I'm writing a book. I mean, I can laugh at myself. I did a few ebooks a couple of years ago. I didn't get very far with that, and I couldn't start to repost them or edit them or anything because they're in storage in the cracked screen computer. So, my books were supposed to be out years ago. I'm very slow at that. And there are many topics in these books. It's 12 books under the same title. I won't really give away the title, but it has to do a lot mostly with indoctrination into the matrix at birth. Because, well, I mean, people talk about being woke and however they want to say it these days. Waking up to certain things in the matrix is a great thing. Some people, like me and a lot of other people I know that I choose to speak with because they understand me, have never been asleep. I don't know what their reasons are. I just know that we're here for a purpose. I mean, we're all here for a purpose, and some of us are here for some spiritual purposes and to give messages. And the fact that I never watched the news growing up, and I rarely watched television, kind of kept me innocent in a way. I knew what was going on when I was 7 years old, and I never figured out if that was a curse or a gift. And today I try and help people and tell them what's going on, because I've known since I was probably born, but didn't really realize it until I was like 7, and that was a long time ago. People call me a conspiracy theorist. Well, I'm not one, or I am one, but the things that I tell you is because I know. My daughter months ago told me it's okay if people call you a conspiracy theorist. That doesn't mean that you're wrong. There are lots of conspiracy theorists, and I could probably put myself in that category, except there are things that I know. And to other people who don't believe, they think it's a conspiracy theorist. Hey, where's your foil hat? Okay, so that's fine. The thing is, a lot of conspiracy theories wound up being actual conspiracies. So, I don't know about you, but if somebody says something that seems outlandish, and to me nothing really seems outlandish because there are a lot of things going on, and a lot of things that have been going on that have been found out, so who am I to say something is not true? The best thing to do is not argue with those people, and maybe not call them conspiracy theorists, and wonder why people spend their entire lives with their faces in books and on websites doing research to find out things that are happening when we could be having a life, I guess you might want to call it that. Because it is very time consuming. I mean, almost on a daily basis. And it's really important that you do research. It's horrible if you just trust what someone says because they say it, or because they're supposed to be an expert. The experts that we're told are experts, we did not vote in, so if you want to believe they're experts, that's fine. I'm not going to do that. I'm not just going to listen to somebody, because there are a lot of experts. And these days, if you've noticed, other experts are censored because they weren't chosen by the powers that be to be the expert, because they're not following the narrative, so they're going to be shut up. The funny thing is, though, those people are now being questioned, as well as Google, in court, and you'll see it all happen. I mean, you can go to YouTube and catch those things. Now, as far as research, well, back in the day, because I've been doing research for 40 some odd years, so that makes me pretty experienced in doing research. And for 17 about or longer of those years, the research has been professional research because, I went to school, and once you're in grad school, you have to do research in a certain way. Granted, it's the way they want you to, and because when you're going to write professionally or academically and hope while you're in school, because that's what you're supposed to hope for, because that's what they say, to write and be accepted into the peer reviews, that's supposed to be a great thing. I mean, to me, it's a lot of it's opinion. It's great that you can read the studies and all the trials and what have you, and people's grand ideas. That's wonderful. But it's really funny because Fauci said not too long ago, when he was fighting the fact that hydroxychloroquine actually cures people and have saved 50% of certain populations, including in this country, he said something to the effect of, so what if it's peer reviewed? What does peer reviewed mean? It means nothing. Now, I don't know that he actually always felt that way. I'm sure, he didn't. But when fighting this medication, he said that. I was actually quite shocked. You can find that on YouTube. Now, speaking of YouTube, I have several groups and several pages on Facebook. And one of them is a political group. I am completely against politics, or always have been up until recently. I am older and I never wanted to vote because, like I said, I never watched the news. I never wanted to vote. I never wanted any part of this mainstream bullcrap because even at 7 years old, I knew it was a lie. Everything was a lie. Everything was negative on the news. I'd walk in, my grandparents were watching the news, I'd walk out of the room. I didn't want to hear it. Today, we have more than books. Before it was books, it was the news, it was the radio. Those are the things you can get information from. Then the internet came along. And I mean, that was fine. That's just great. The information age, we can get so much information. If we don't feel like going to the library, we don't have to. We become very lazy. But these sources were okay. You just have to use discernment. And today, it's different. It is a mess. I mean, everything is political. So even though it was always wise to teach your children how to use discernment and how to question things, to teach them epistemology and the value of it as children before they go into school or while they're in grade school. Today, it's a must, because I've been saying for many, many years that the news is fake. I mean, if I felt that way at 7, and I'm my age now, it's been 40 some odd years that I've been saying that. So, this is not a new term. When I mention it, people say, oh, you must be brainwashed by Trump. No, I've been saying that for 40 some odd years. The news has always been censored. They are owned by a small group of people, and they say what is needed to say to keep people in a constant state of fear. It's always been that way. Only now it is horrifying. You can compare it to Oh, well, the Holocaust, basically. The way they are taking over and telling you what you can say and what you can't say, and what you can believe and what you can't believe. Nobody can tell you what you can believe. So the best thing you can do is, look at all the stuff if you want to, and use your discernment. If it doesn't mean that somebody said something and it's the truth. Oh, well, Fauci said this. Who cares? Look it up. I mean, I listen to him. I listen to everybody. That's the thing. Even now, with all this political BS, I listen to both sides. The thing with the younger generation is, or even those who are maybe 10 or 15 years younger than me, they want to argue things that I saw growing up. I saw these things from these people, so please do not tell me how they are. And I don't know where you think they're changing in this day and age, because the elder people in my family, we just kind of had to deal with the fact that they were not going to change, And so the same thing really applies here. If you have a certain way of thinking, whether it's racist or whatever, and I'm not saying people don't learn and they don't have experiences and at some point they don't change. That happens to some people. But for most people who are set in their ways, it just does not happen. You have to have that experience. You have to have some kind of awakening, So because of all of this, there are everything is political. The friendship is political. People are losing friends and family and admitting it on Facebook because they don't agree with each other's political views. This is insane. This is not normal. The problem is that now fact check, which to me is fake, is everywhere. If you pull up certain things online, you will get a fact check all the way down the list on the first page. That is pathetic. That is what's telling you how you should think. You actually have to research even after that comes up. Now, I research many things, and I will get a normal page when I'm talking about other things that I'm writing about. But as soon as it's anything to do with Trump, anything to do with Biden, anything to do with Gates, anything to do with Fauci, anything to do with coronavirus, anything to do with hydroxychloroquine, anything to do with any of the bullcrap that's going on right now, it all comes up fact-checked. Which tells you that they're on top of it, they're constantly watching, and they are trying to keep their narrative and force one on you. Well, a lot of you are already brainwashed by the narrative, so it's never too late, but you need to just do your own research. Anyway, so we also have not just articles and not just the bullcrap news, we have books. I have like tons of books, and those aren't changed. No one can change the narrative in them. I have them in print many times for my articles on my websites. I actually copy and paste, or I save the page, print screen, because this is what I've noticed. I'll go back right now and look for something to pull up, to share with someone, to show them that, no, I'm sorry, you're not right about this. And all of a sudden, it's gone, or it's fact-checked, and it's stating something opposite of what it said. And then I go back to my website, and I say, this is what they're doing. And a lot of people don't believe that. I mean, I wish you would, but to be honest, I'm not going to argue about it anymore, because you'll find out in your own way. You'll also find out when you see that these things are on my website, and then you can go take a look at it and see that it no longer exists online. That's pathetic. So we have books, we have the newspaper, mainstream, biased, filled with crap. We have the internet, news, worse than watching it on TV. many more stations biased. Left biased, right biased, doesn't matter. The right talk crap about the left and how the right is great. The left talks crap about the right and how the left is great. Then we have YouTube. YouTube is a great place to do research. For one, for children who have problems figuring things out, say in math or social studies or whatever it is, they can go to YouTube and actually learn a lot there. Whether you're homeschooled or not. Of course, that's the case these days. Also, there are a lot of people who like to go onto YouTube to share their thoughts, to teach people things, and for many other reasons. It's not just about news, and it can be very educational. Most of the people on there who are there to teach people, I would give 100% credit to. It's very helpful. Now, when it comes to politics and the virus, which is also political, along with anything surrounding the presidents and the virus and freedom of speech, you have to really use discernment. So it is a great place to get information for certain things. For the things I stated, now for as far as being political, it's best to absolutely watch YouTube, because it's a good way to get ideas about what people think and it's actually coming out of their mouths. See, because when you share written articles with me, unless they're by certain people that I would cite in a book, I'm not listening to you. Telling me the same thing over and over again, I'm not listening to you. When you try to prove a point using different words, websites, but the same words, I'm not listening to you. I'm not brainwashed. I never have been brainwashed. And you're not going to brainwash me. So this is what happens in one of my groups. I decided to open a political group because, well, one, for research, and two, because I think that the political ideologies that we hold they don't fit. Like, not in a diverse nation. There's just not enough satisfaction for everyone in a melting pot, and so I thought, okay, let me get some ideas. Well, it's a huge battle in there, and it's all about racism. Like, I didn't say this is a racist group, but that's what it turned out to be. And the problem in there is that people like to back a lot of information with a lot of bogus articles, and I've used a few articles in there, but I use YouTube a lot because here's the thing. In there, people say to me, oh, well, Trump said this. Okay, so me and some other people are like, let's hear it. We don't say, no, you're lying, you blah, 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 said this. Oh, let's hear it. I want to hear it. I've said it several times. So they send some news article. That's not proof. Somebody is saying something that somebody else is supposed to be saying, or someone is posing their opinion. And that does not tell me a damn thing. I'm lucky if I even trust credible sources these days, depending on if they're partisan or bipartisan. It's really hard today. So I use YouTube because if I hear something coming out of that person's mouth, that is enough proof. For me, that's enough proof for you. And I'm telling you, as a researcher, if the video hasn't been doctored, what is coming out of the person's mouth is what I can prove, or you can prove, better than showing me a lame article from one of these biased news stations. That doesn't work. That's not research. Especially when you know they're battling with each other. That is not research at all. I'd rather hear it come from somebody's mouth. The only thing we have to worry about, I mean, if you say whatever and you show me an article and I show you YouTube, I win. You don't win. You need to post the YouTube because it's coming out of the person's mouth. You can't tell me somebody says something without me hearing it. Not when they're making up a bunch of lies. Even if it wasn't that bad today, I'd still rather hear it out of a person's mouth. So, Now, the only thing you have to worry about is that sentence, is that story, is that experience that's coming out of that person's mouth real? I mean, it's better than wondering if the article is, because you have to wonder if the article is real. You have to wonder who's citing it. You have to wonder if somebody's lying, and then you have to wonder about that person's perception when they're putting their opinion out there. And then you have to still wonder if that person is telling the truth. So when it comes to somebody saying something, you should absolutely use YouTube. You always want to hear it come out of somebody's mouth. I don't care which news station is saying it. Like, I don't care if it's the bias left or the bias right. I don't happen to listen to CNN or any of those, because they, to me, completely exaggerate and twist things around, and they're completely biased, but their bias is nothing I really believe in, so of course I don't watch them. But if I find out something from, say, Fox News, I will also look for it on CNN, because that's fair. That's how you do research. If you just search for what you want to hear, that's all you're going to find out. You're not going to ever find the truth. You have to search both. So, YouTube is a good source for something that you want to hear. As far as anything else, because we have all of this fake news around right now, I can probably read a paragraph or two from here, because I don't know that anyone comes here and reads it. I started this, I think this page, I don't know, it could have been 10 or 12 years, probably 10 years ago, maybe 8 or 10 years, I don't even know. And I never really did anything with it, so I never really invited anybody. I think I only had 15 likes or whatever. Anyway, okay, so one of the first things children should be taught in school, even at home, is epistemology. Epistemology is the theory of knowledge. It helps us define what we know and how we know what we know. This is one of the first courses taught in secondary school. It is a shame that we have to wait to pay for school to learn how to question how we know what we know. Questioning what we know, what someone else knows, and what is considered good research is important no matter how old you are. Once children learn to read and have success in comprehending what they read, it is time to teach them epistemology so that they have some sort of expertise in gathering research. Okay, so this is very important, because what happens is, my thing is that you're indoctrinated into the matrix at birth. And in that, what you learn for the next so many years of your life, and hopefully knowing what's going on, but most people don't, it won't affect you, but obviously it affects a lot of people. If you wait until you're in college to have a course on epistemology, in essence, you are already indoctrinated, and you're already used to not questioning anything that you're reading. It's kind of like you don't have the advantage or the privilege to question anything. You're going to do as I say. You're going to listen to what I'm telling you, and you're not going to ask me questions until you've paid for school. That's kind of pathetic. So it's really important that kids learn how to do that. Now, granted, back in the day, some people, some teachers, especially, let's say in Catholic school or whatever, didn't want their students questioning them. People didn't like it, and some teachers in public school as well, because it's like you're questioning authority. So basically, you're born and you have your parents to listen to, maybe your grandparents, aunts and uncles. Then you go to school and you immediately have to conform to that and listen to your teachers, and typically, depending on who the teacher is, not question them. Then you have, other authorities like, the policemen, and you basically have a community of people telling you what you can and cannot do. the least you can do is teach kids how to do research. I mean, they need to grow up and learn how to ask questions, or we have people like we have today not questioning anything and arguing with us when we know what we're talking about and they don't. Sorry. Okay, so, expertise in gathering research. This is not only a problem for children. The fact of the matter is that we are indoctrinated into the matrix at birth, and the lessons from the matrix continue for a lifetime, starting with our parents, the education system, mainstream media, the restaurants we go to, and even when we shop. Another reason why I started sewing Social Worlds back in 2007 is because of the influences around us and how we are seriously brainwashed into everything. I mean, it's not just going to school and the teacher says this, it's everything. Even makeup. You basically, the mainstream or the magazines and anything you watch on TV, the commercials, they are your prescription for beauty, for health, for everything. And in not questioning this and in seeing it every day, it becomes, you become it. You don't become what you want to become. You become what they want you to become, because your reality is created for you. Because your belief system was hijacked at birth. That's very sad. Okay, so the whole thing is, like, I was writing papers on hyperreality in grad school because it's terrible. I mean, I'm from New York, so when they show the clips of New York, always looking down where you see all the stores and it looks like a triangle, yeah, that's basically what goes on in our heads. And these are the images, and every time you say a word, it's associated with a picture. But the pictures aren't coming from us. They're coming from this world of hyperreality in the Matrix. So this has created our belief system. Sorry. Okay. This is not only a problem for children. The fact of the matter is that we were indoctrinated into the Matrix at birth, and the lessons from the Matrix continue for a lifetime, starting with our parents, the education system, mainstream media, the restaurants we go to, and even when we shop. You may say this is simply our culture in Western civilization. I say that each culture has their own way of handing down recipes and certain practices, but the country in which you live has their own way of creating reality for you, which is true. I used to hear that in communist China, they would only let their citizens watch certain things. When the internet came out, they were either none to limited able to watch anything because they didn't want them to know what was going on in the world and or fight back or have a say. So your country, your leadership, and your political ideology has a lot to do with, your brain, your belief system. So at least we really need to learn how to conduct research. Way of creating reality for you. This is a problem because we were taught in school not to question authority, and these are many when we are children. Authority figures are people such as parents, other family members, teachers, police officers, and so forth. There are a lot of people that we are supposed to listen to when we are growing up, and we are taught to respect our elders, not to talk back, and in many cases not to question authority. Where does that lead us? It leads us to a lack of questioning what we read, see, and what we are told is true. Of course, some of us are naturally curious, so we are bound to ask why and how throughout our school years. Some teachers do not mind, because some teachers really don't mind. Actually, they appreciate it. They're the ones that tell you going through life that there's no such thing as a stupid question. I mean, if you don't ask questions, you can't learn. If you don't ask questions and you just listen to what you're told, you learn nothing. You're told what to believe. You're like a robot, a puppet. Some teachers do not mind, whereas others become offended and try to put you in your place for questioning their reality. If this is not corrected, it will follow you into adulthood. The problem is that many people have no idea how important it is to ask questions if they have not been to college. Most of the time, when they do their own research, which is not a reality for everyone, they find the first thing they see and think of it as valid information. Many times, it is not. College courses and/or grad school advances knowledge in the field of research. In fact, once you are in grad school, research becomes your greatest and most used tool, coupled with a few other things for knowing how you know what you know. Once you pay for college, you learn a little more. You learn that you must cite your sources and always give credit where credit is due, or you will be guilty of plagiarism. That reminds me of some political person at the moment. When you enter grad school and you pay more money or what have you, you become more serious with regard to research. You must learn in depth how to conduct research and learn the theories of different types of research models and how they are best used. It is assumed that you will be a practitioner of some sort because you are paying for school, so you must learn best practices used in your field of study. Great. So where is the problem? The problem lies in the fact that many people think that if an expert said it, it must be true. If my parents said it, then it must be true. But remember, your parents are getting it from their parents, and all of these people are getting it from the Matrix. People used to do research better than they did today. We have more vehicles for research today. You don't necessarily just have to go to the library or listen to some dimwit on the radio or some liar on the mainstream media news. Okay, great field of study, great. So where is the problem? The problem lies in the fact that many people think that if an expert said it, it must be true. If my parents said it, then it must be true. If a teacher said it, it really must be true. None of that is true. Typically, when you are doing research because you are curious to learn something, you're just doing research simply because you're curious about learning something. You have an open mind because you're just browsing around, doing research because you want to know something, right? So your mind is open. When you're doing research to prove someone wrong, you will typically use bias in looking for an answer. This is the wrong way to do research. You must look at both sides, because if you're looking for the wrong answer in your bias, you will not find the right answer. You always want to find the right answer, whether you're wrong or not. That's the way to do research. You just have to accept that your reality might not be the truth. In the last few decades, the advancement in technology meant that the written and spoken word can proliferate at a greater speed than any time in recent history. And as a result, we have a huge web of information coming from all around this shrinking planet. We can no longer just use your discernment, because we first have to break the habit of listening to what we are told is truth, and then we have to be very precise in what we are looking to learn or argue within a web of information. It used to be as easy as going to the library and signing out books. Then we had the ability to read ebooks and articles online. This is certainly easy, but you cannot read just anything on Google, which I even do many times. But when I do that, even when I was in grad school, I would actually go to, say, Wikipedia. But Wikipedia is a really bad source. They'll tell you that in regular college, but it's more serious when you go to grad school. You don't cite Wikipedia. I mean, I would never cite Wikipedia, but I would go to Wikipedia if I had an idea, because I wanted to see if anyone else had the idea. And then I wanted to see if someone had just the idea, somebody was in school, it's a theory, people are studying it, and then either find a source from there or see what someone's saying or whose names they're mentioning, so I can do further information, because they like it so much, especially those who focus on objective research and not subjective research. Which has to do with like objective research has to do with quantity, so quantitative research, as opposed to subjective, which is qualitative, so quality. So you basically were taught to write in a certain way so you can be accepted into the circle with their narrative. So don't think things are much different there. You're brainwashed no matter what, so you might as well learn how to do your own research. Not even sure if that was what I was getting at. So, okay. It used to be as easy as going to the library. Okay, then we had the ability to read ebooks and online. This is certainly easy, but you cannot just read anything on Google, which I even do many times. Okay, that's why I brought up. Okay, and you can do search on Google. You can do a search on, anything you want. You just have to back it. Even if it's an expert or a peer-reviewed article, you still want to back that information. It kind of makes sense. Also, Google's being questioned in court because they are being bad little people right now, and I'm not getting into that here. Fauci is being questioned in court. I'm not getting into that either. But these people are being questioned, so that's why it's very important for you to question experts, or so-called experts. Okay, Google, which I even do many times. I have college and grad school libraries available to me from the schools I graduated from, so I can read peer-reviewed articles and studies all day long. Many people do not have that opportunity unless they pay for the online college library or resources to be read. They'll let you borrow them. They'll even send books to your house, which you typically have to pay for some kind of subscription. Or I think even Harvard, I've been in their library and was sent things to my home, and as long as you send it back, you won't get a late fee. So you can do that. Then they have articles online, and you have to research those too, because they also follow that narrative. For some people, peer-reviewed articles are as good as gold. Trust me, they are not in every case. There are some great ones, out there, and I do get to read a lot of studies, but like anything else, you must embrace the narrative. Without the ability to read the stuff the narrative is made of, you are subjected to finding information that is typically biased trash online. Many use this biased trash to prove a point, and unless they use this trash as a starter to build on research rather than the end-all, their arguments become mute. I have been watching and testing this for quite some time. I am guilty of playing the game at times, which I do sometimes. I will do it in some of my groups, especially when I'm collecting information for my articles and my book, and I watch people argue like a bunch of fools about things that aren't even true. That's the funny thing. But we'll argue about something that's true. Or you're not even arguing against it, you're just actually stating your opinion. But these are people arguing against non-truths. Just things made up on the internet. Because they want somebody to fail. Because somebody knows the truth of what's going on. And they don't want that to be happening. That can't happen. So they change the narrative every other day. But it's the same narrative, it's just a different trick and a different way to blame the person. Okay, so I've been watching and testing this for quite some time. I am guilty of playing the games at times, not because I am lazy, but because I need responses, and I figure at some point someone will want to get down to the bottom of the matter and realize that all we are doing is tossing someone else's information in the air and arguing between what has become political everything. Everything, including love, is politicized, and this is very sad. So if you have not been to college, grad school, or taken accredited research courses, you will have to learn on your own. Remember to be bipartisan and do not use the web searches that answer your question for you if you don't have to. What I mean is the first thing to pop up is in the first position because it is popular, but that does not mean that it is true. Use in-depth queries. Be specific and read articles that are unbiased, typically not from the news. YouTube is fine if you need to show what someone said. Make sure the video hasn't been doctored. They're doing this a lot. Some sources for knowing include perception, memory, testimony, and reason, to name a few. You can learn more about epistemology on one of my websites. I will leave the link after the site is out of maintenance mode. It's not in maintenance mode at the moment. I just have a lot of articles that I'm writing that are still drafts. So I will share that information about sewing social worlds. I'll actually post articles as I finish them because I have a lot right now that I'm working on. Because there's so much going on. So I keep getting new ideas, and even if last week I said, wait, I think I can join these together. So now I have a lot of information. So I'll be releasing articles soon. I did a few articles on e-zine articles, probably like 10, 15 years ago. I asked them a question about one of my articles, I think last week. That's been sitting for I don't know how long because I barely ever go there anymore. And I don't believe I have an answer yet. A few days after I checked, so I'm not even sure if they are actually in service now. I can still read other authors' articles. You can still read mine. I just have no idea, because of what's going on, if they're still in service. Anyway, it was great talking with you. I teach research, among other things, spiritual, in a lot of different places online. And I will probably be doing a lot more videos. I start them and then I don't get back to them, and people ask me, and I hardly have any followers on YouTube, but they ask me, well, when are you going to do your next video? What's your next topic? And I'll wait like a month before I even do another one. So this is my first time in 2 months. Last time I did a video on YouTube was 2 months ago. I started getting into the whole TikTok thing when lockdown became a reality. My kids had it, and I said, oh, let me download it. And it was awesome. It was just great because it made me laugh every day. Because in my feed, what would come up was everything positive. Everyone was being loving and friendly and funnier than heck. And so I'd want to watch it every night, and I'd watch it a couple of videos during the day because they're 60-second videos, and then every night before I would go to sleep, I would put it on for 15-20 minutes so I could be in a happy mood before I went to sleep. And then all of a sudden there was Floyd. And all of a sudden, I'd see that, and I would keep watching those videos because, of course, I was interested in this man who was murdered. And so my feed, and I didn't realize it, I was just seeing, went from this great thing to all of a sudden everything is negative. So it was the whole Floyd, and then it was the riots, and then it was the BLM, and my whole feed, every time I would turn it on, was that. I didn't want to watch it anymore. I was done. Then it was people talking about Trump, then it was people talking about Biden. And the whole thing became political. It wasn't fun anymore. Everyone forgot about the lockdown and that there was coronavirus, unless it was a talk about hydroxychloroquine, of course. And so, anyway, I wound up deleting it about probably a month and a half, 2 months ago. But since someone else bought it, or is still in the process, I'm going to download it again. Because these are the people who, they own Java. That script online that you need to like watch things and open ebooks and things like that, you know, basically to do everything online. They had some issues with Google, I believe, in 2019, 2018, about a year and a half ago, or a year ago. And Trump actually went to the judge and helped them to side with this guy who thought that Google owed him a lot of money because they're using his script. At first the judge said no, but then they realized after Trump spoke with them that, yeah, they owe you money, they're using your codes. And that was pretty interesting. The funny thing is, in December 16th, I think, of 2019, this same person, Oracle, went to court with a list of many people that I will not mention on here, 50 to 75 people, but I will mention Google, and Fauci, and Biden, and his son, and the Clintons, and Elon Musk, and the Obamas. And the rest of the people I don't think I'll mention. You can find it online. It's a real court document. They were being sued for crimes against humanity. Things that they're doing to our brains online. These same people who are trying to brainwash us and make fake facts and things like that. Those were the people. Anyway, it went to court December 16th. It was filed December 16th. Something was said in January. February, Oracle went back and he added more people. And I don't know if someone spoke with him or someone threatened him. He's a writer. I'm sure he's still alive. But all of a sudden, he never went back to court. You can find this online. So, like a judge will do, the court sent him a document stating, you filed this, is there a problem, yada yada. You have 30 days to reply, or we're going to have to drop the case, basically. And that's what they did. Kind of curious to know why. But, ooh, those things that were said, those complaints, and all of those people that you would just die. Yeah, I posted that on, somebody asked me to post that because they didn't believe me. So I posted it in that group where they're always battling. And I didn't think it was big enough, so I posted it a second time. And I didn't even get a response. It's like, you post YouTube videos, blah, 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 you don't post anything, you don't cite anything worthwhile. Okay, I do. I post things out of people's mouths. I don't just post things that people say. And I posted this very, very, very important court document that everyone should see. And you say nothing about it and continue rambling about your BS and racism about Trump. This is what Trump is trying to stop. This is why they don't like him. This is why they want him out of office. I'm talking about the powers that be. Another website that is not finished, and this one is because I only started this one a few months ago, is Arm for Humanity. Arm, like your arm, ARM for Humanity. And I have files on there, PDFs from online, and you can find that court case in there. Because I'm not going to post it here again. One, I didn't want to post it in the first place because there's a time and a place for everything, and there's a place for certain things. And what I do on my website is my responsibility, and I don't feel like I should have to post certain things. And if you don't get the idea that I'm not posting a certain thing and I'm telling you it's on my website, or I'm telling you I'm not going to post it here, there might be a good reason for it. And I'm not going to want to post a bunch of things that I know about and that I've put two and two together to satisfy your ego. It just doesn't make sense. So if I'm telling you to go to my website and look for it, you should do that. And just stop believing the bullshit that's going on freaking these wars that we're having between the two parties, because only one party is correct, the other one is not. And I'm not saying one party doesn't exaggerate or whatever, but one party says things that sound outrageous to other people because he's saying it for a reason, so that the people that he's speaking with, they understand what he's talking about. You don't. You just think he's an idiot. You will learn. You will see the truth. And if you do your research, you'll learn even more. To stop arguing with people who you think are making things up just because you're brainwashed, and it's not even being an insult. It just happened. It happens to a lot of people. It needs to stop because you look stupid. Seriously, like, I get comments like, why are these people so stupid in your group? What don't they see? I'm like, well, they don't research and they trust things, and they'll pull something up and they'll say, here it is. And even if they do a little research a little further than that and look into whatever, they're going to back their YouTube, or they're going to back their article with another article that says the same damn thing, being written by the same biased people who hold the same narrative, who's trying to shove it down our throats. That doesn't work. So, anyway, again, because I like to blab, 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 I will talk with you another night. So I did another video tonight on another page that I have, which is, I changed the name of it tonight. What did I change it to? Food delivery, restaurants, and tipping. I did a video there tonight. So share this one, not just the video, share this page, please. And share the one that I just said. And I'm still building this community, so since I have to find and recreate and create more content for it, once I get it a little more, like in the next week or two, you can go there, and because it's a community of information in a lot of different topics that will greatly help you get through life, whether it's spiritually or scholarly. It is a lot. So I will share that, and then if you get bored here or anywhere else that you visit online, you can come join that community and hop around through different parts and learn different things and talk with different people and so forth. And I believe in freedom of speech. There will be no any fact checks on my sites, because I believe you don't get down to the bottom of anything unless you have a debate about it. And I don't mean battle and argue like a bunch of imbeciles. I mean really have serious discussions about things. That's how we evolve. That's how we learn things about other people. That's how we sometimes even learn things about ourselves. Alrighty. So, thanks for listening.